Victor and Greg from the Tabletop Knights. Here we're doing a review for Ninjas Unleashed Legend of the Celestial Stones. This was a promo copy from Gaia Games. Thank you very much for the promo copy. It's hitting Kickstarter January 30th. We're going to talk about our experience with the game. Again, we only played 2-player, and it is best at 4-player. Definitely would recommend 3 at a minimum for this game. But what I've seen so far is actually quite enjoyable. It's not the type of game we played too often on the channel.
No, I mean, we have played a lot of sort of 2-player games, but they've been designed to be 2-player. This isn't designed to be 2-player. It was still fun. We still had some good laughs and some smash 'em ups, but
yes,
I wiped the floor with him. But that's okay.
Greg absolutely demolished me both the times we played.
Yeah.
But it was still competitive. Each round was still competitive, even though I was was starting to fall out of the game towards the end. I still had things to do and occupy my board. But essentially, let's just start with the review with the theme. It's obviously a ninja-heavy theme. They've done a really good job with their lore book. So each house has their own history, which I always really enjoy these sort of add-ons into a game. But yeah, it's got that heavy ninja theme. Every card is slightly different in the art, which I really appreciate. Ninjas, you just can't go wrong.
No. And look, thematically it works. You know, you have students who become apprentices, who become elite ninjas. You have a sensei. There's some things you can't do unless you've got these cards sort of all lined out. We didn't actually kill off any of each other's senseis, which we forgot we could
which
do.
is something that you can do. I don't think we just came across any cards that...
Anytime you strike a card, you could do that, which forces you
true.
Then to put... an apprentice into that position.
Yeah, so we could have. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We didn't do that, but relatively cool theme. I really like the art, the components. Again, this is just a promotional copy, but this is probably the highest quality promotional copy we've received on the channel
for sure.
And we've received a lot over the years.
Yep.
Again, the art's fantastic.
The art's great. Look, there's heaps of different houses. Just to who do you want to play with? What's your special ability? You do. Muck each other around a lot, as well as doing it. So it's kind of like a tableau builder.
Yeah.
But you do interfere a lot with each other. So with 2-player, that's where it falls down a little bit.
So essentially, if you played any card game, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, you sort of will know how the cards work. You've obviously got your elite and apprentice cards. They're worth 3 points for the elite, 1 point for the apprentice, and the goal is to get to a certain amount of points on the board. We just did a 20-point victory, but you might want to do 30 or set your own victory goals. Essentially, you also have enhancement cards, which allow you to enhance how the game's played. They're worth a victory point. You also have mission cards, which we'll show you how to get those a little later. You also have counter cards, which essentially when someone plays a card, you can stop the card from being played, and then the other player can play another counter card. But then you've also got counter cards that allow you to sort of adjust your dice rolls and that sort of thing.
Yeah. We don't want to minimize it and just say they're just counter. Some counters will only counter specific things.
Yes. So this one, for example...
Or an action or an effect.
So there are some that steal cards from other players and whatnot. And then you've also got sabotage cards, which are worth -2 points. This one, for example, if it's in Shogun's house, it'll allow you to not play enhanced cards, which again are worth 1 point each. And this card's worth -2. But then again, once you remove that from your house, you get those 2 points back. So the scoring's really simple. Really easy to keep track of. You do have to move the score counter up and down a bit, but it only really matters towards the end of the game, and it's quite easy to figure out. You just essentially count how many elite cards you have, how many apprentice cards you have, how many sabotage cards you have, and then it's a quite easy way to figure out how many points you have total.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds a lot, but it's literally, I can look at my board now and go, well, that's 15 points, 17 points, and 2 missions, that's 19 points.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and again, the way the game works is also fairly straightforward as well. So you essentially start off each round by placing your apprentices on missions. So just say it's like this, for example. I've placed my 2 ones here. We'll then... battle it out a little later on in the round.
There's a challenge to see who gets to go for the mission.
So we roll to do that, and also that can be tampered with, by using the counter cards that we mentioned before, or your house card. Each house card has a different ability, and then whoever wins that challenge will go on to do the mission. In order to successfully win a mission, you have to roll 2 dice, and you have to get within the targeted zone. So for this one, it's 2 to 7 to win, and 9 to 12, and your apprentice card essentially dies.
Yeah, so even if you don't like games with luck or dice rolls, you can mitigate what those rolls will be. Because if you think I can get high, you'll go one way, low the other. Again, your house ability and other card play will help you get close to where you need to be. So it's not just, I rolled 12, I'm out of it.
Yeah, it's also a balance of, this card Greg's using, I can counter, but maybe I'll hold on to this counter card for later. So there is it's not just using the cards as you have it. It's very strategic in that way. So there's also a student school system in play. So in each round you get a student card. You then roll to see if the student card becomes an apprentice. Once the card becomes an apprentice, that's when you send it on a mission. And then if the mission's successful, that's when it upgrades to an elite card. So it's a really smooth transition from student to elite. When you do run out of apprentice cards, though, and you don't have any going into the next round, it can be a big blow. So you definitely want to make sure you always have apprentices there. And again, in a 2-player game, you won't see a lot of battling here, but in 3, 4, 5, 6 players, you're going to get a lot of challenging and battles and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
and we'd certainly recommend, even as a house rule, if you're just playing 2-player, maybe just do 2 of the missions.
Yeah, I would probably say
it just makes it a little bit more competitive there.
Yeah, I would definitely say
forces you to get involved.
Yeah, I actually say that's a fantastic option to do.
The only problem with that is if you end up with 4 apprentices, you still only got 2 missions you can go on.
Yeah.
And you can only put 1 apprentice in each mission.
But then it also means that if you have 3 apprentices and I have none, you can only go on a maximum of 2. So the catching up isn't as hardcore. Yeah. So in the 2 games we did play, Greg beat me like 25-3 and 20-0. So we did. So again, this game is best played with multiple people. But there is definitely a chance to have a more competitive match. In our very first test game, it was a very close game.
Correct. And look, again, the rules aren't final. They'll be tweaked, and I'm sure they'll come up with specific, variations and things. But again, this game says you can house rule it as much as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
They gave a couple of examples of how that might work.
Yeah. So also, as well as this component in the middle here, challenging and going for missions, you also do have 3 actions every turn that you get to do.
Yep.
So you put your apprentices out to go on missions, then you do your actions, and then you challenge and go for the mission. So these will allow you to then play the before mentioned ninja cards, sabotage cards, and all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a bit to do each turn. You're not going to be sitting around and waiting for too long for your turn, but there is quite a bit to do. I just want to show the other
side. There are stacks of cards, and there was only a couple we scratched our heads a little bit at, and then we went, oh no, that's what it means.
Yeah, it does end up making quite a bit of sense.
It's not like Magic the Gathering where you got to go, oh, hang on, what does that mean again? So there's the other side of the board. So there's 2 different sides. Plays exactly the same. And they have this interesting mechanism as sort of the top half of the pile where you draw from, like normal, and this bottom half where you pick from. So if they use the word pick, it means you take it off the bottom. So you flip the cards over, go through until you find the first of that one.
Yeah, or go through the discard pile as well.
Correct. So, but that worked actually quite well because it was a big stack of cards, and rather than picking up this massive stack, you can literally just
for sure. Overall, I really quite like how the game flowed. It flows quite easy because it is broken up into put your apprentices out, see if your student graduates, play your 3 actions each, then challenge and then play for the missions, and then essentially reset. So it's a very easy step-by-step on how to play. But again, this is 100% honest, I really can't stress enough that you do want to really play with 3 or more. That way you get a bit of gotcha. But if you do play with 2-player, definitely I would recommend adding some house rules for sure.
Yeah, look, you might even take out... I mean, on one of the games I had a stack of counter cards. Now, that stopped Victor doing anything, but it didn't help me advance very much initially. So it's like, You could even take some cards out or tweak the deck as you see fit.
Yeah, and they do recommend about 10 cards to take out in a 2-player game. But yeah,
Yep.
just maybe taking one mission away would also help that. But I was actually really surprised with how much I enjoyed the game. I really would love to play it with more people. So if this gets successfully funded, which I know it will, then we will see if we can get it to the table again. For
I
sure.
will definitely, yeah. I'd love to play it with 4 just to
Yeah.
get that full-on bash.
Yeah, but that's it. So make sure you check it out. January 30th, it'll be on Kickstarter. Go pre-follow it now. That way you get the alert when it does go live. Thank you very much to Guy Games for sponsoring these videos and helping us out during the week. They're local to us, so we really want to get behind them and support them as much as we can.
Sponsored our entire June series, if you've been watching those.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this is a joy to bring to the table, and thank you very much for watching. Until next time. See ya.
See ya. Oh, you could subscribe there and watch a previous video there.